Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. I'm thinking of watching another movie tonight, but I just saw Shottas. This is the poster, if you can see that at all. Um, if you go around like Prime Video or whatever, and you look in the action section, you've probably seen that before. And I'm finally talking about it because I thought it looked interesting. And well, this phone again. Let me get to the cast and all that before I get there. Directed by is there. Sorry, gotta get used to this again. The film is called Shottas. It is directed by Cecil Vera from 2002, and it stars Kai Marley, Sprague Benz, Paul Campbell, Louis Rankin, and Wyclef Jean. Now, this film, a raw urban drama about two friends raised on the dangerous streets of Kingston, Jamaica. Biggs and Wayne take on the Shotta way of life to survive. As young boys, they begin a life of crime, eventually moving to the U.S., where they begin a ruthless climb from the bottom. They remain bound to each other by their Shotta's loyalty as they aggressively take control of the Jamaican underworld. Now, what do I think of this film? Well, I quite liked it. I don't watch a lot of. I'm gonna consider this a foreign film because it was shot in Jamaica. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Like most of the cast is like straight up Jamaican, so I'm gonna assume that. But this is a good crime film. It is. I have my small issues with parts of it, and there are certain things that don't make a ton of sense or just kind of breeze through. But for the most part, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I do recommend this film. It is free on Tubi. I think it's on Prime. It's on Freevee, Tubi, Pluto TV. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth the watch if you're looking for a kind of like crime film that you haven't seen yet. But yeah, let me get to the cast. Marley as Biggs. I've never seen him in a film before. I think this is his only. Um, I think this is one of the only. It's definitely the only film he starred in. He's been in another film called One Love. No, he's the star of that too. Um, he's been in like two films as the star and one film with Orlando Bloom called Haven. Uh, I guess he's like a small part in that, but he didn't do a bad job. He did a good job. If his last name sounds familiar, yes, he is one of the many children of Bob Marley, the um, what's the term? Reggae singer from Jamaica. And yeah, he has a track or two in this movie, and I'll get to the soundtrack in a bit. Um, Sprague Benz as Wayne. Wayne is Biggs's best friend. They end up going into the Shada life together, and yeah, he did a good job too. Paul Campbell as Mad Max. He's kind of an unhinged guy that's a friend of Wayne's. He was good. I he did a good job being menacing, but also like showing that he's not just like a loose cannon that'll even kill his friends. He's only killing the people that they're after, and he does it to like save them and whatever. Um, mm. Wyclef Jean as Richie F's. He was good. He did a decent Jamaican accent. I don't know if he's Jamaican. Here it just says, oh, he's Haitian. All right. I mean, I'm not gonna say close or anything. I'm not gonna go there. But Wyclef Jean did a good job. One of my biggest things, I'm like, Wyclef Jean is involved with this, and there's like songs from the actors in the film, and uh, or from the singers that are in the film. Yet Wyclef Jean doesn't have a song on the soundtrack. So odd. And Louis Rankin is Teddy Brookshut. He is basically the villain of the tale. He does a good job. He's decently menacing and decently, he works in the role. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. But yeah, this is exactly what you'd think it is from looking at the poster. It is a crime film, kind of a. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it's a character piece, but um, it's definitely a bit more character driven than other crime films you see. And I know I'm literally gonna be like, well, I mean, I don't have enough people watching me to give a shit, but to give a shit about what I say here, I enjoyed this much more than Goodfellas. I think this was much more focused, much definitely flowed better, and I liked the acting here better. I never liked Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, or Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. I always thought they were really on autopilot and very boring to watch. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying that just because this is like a foreign film. I'm not saying that at all. Because I'm one of the biggest people that's like, oh, you're saying a foreign film is better just because it's foreign. Which does happen. There's no denying that. But like, this film is just, it feels like um, a Jamaican attempt to make an American crime film in a way. It's got a lot of the same types of things you see in in American crime films, like Goodfellas, like Casino, like Capone. It's got a lot of similar things, but recontextualized for a Jamaican way of life. And if I could get to one of my gripes about the film is that it does start off. Starts off interesting, showing like a scene that'll happen later in the film, kind of like Casino did at the start. But the way it does it, I don't hate the way it does it. Um, but I do think it would have been a more surprising bit at the end if that wasn't at the beginning. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. The scene with everybody in the house. But after that, it's like it starts off with, excuse me, Biggs and Wayne, as children, basically just like trying to make their way of life and all that. And I thought it was a very interesting way to start off the movie. I thought the kids did a decent job. Let me see if I can find their names. Yeah, young Biggs was played by J.R. Silvera, who I think was the son of the director Seth Silvera, and Carlton Grant Jr. was young Wayne, which they did a pretty good job. They did pretty good jobs. Uh, the film did a good job recreating what I'd imagine life in Jamaica, if you're like poor, would be. It made me feel bad for the characters. I sympathized with them, and I can understand how people would feel the need to turn to crime when you live in a place like that. When I mean, I don't know if it's the same thing as Colombia, where like the government is just like corrupt there and people can't basically don't have any free will. I don't know if it's like that, but it kind of comes off that way. But yeah, you've got legitimate Jamaican accents. It's definitely actual Jamaican actors for the most part, other than like Wyclef Jean. That was the only one I picked out that I was like, he kind of sounds a little too American. But still, um, that's not really any of my issues with it. One of my issues is that they don't develop, um, I'm forgetting their names, Biggs and Wayne enough. I feel like if they spent a good 30 minutes with them as children, made the film just a tad longer, and built them up as children a bit more, I think I would have been a bit higher on this film because those scenes are really well done. They're, I mean, again, I'm not going to make the whole thing of, oh, it's not original, therefore it's not good. It isn't the most original, but it's still good. It's, I think it's a very short-minded way to think of movies. If, oh, this film did something another film did, oh, it's bad. That's not how this goes. All of these movies that people are like going all crazy over, like John Wick. John Wick is not original at all. At all. John Wick is not original, and yet people shit on action movies, just action movies in general that come out after John Wick, and they're like, "Oh, they're just copying John Wick," and it's like, shut up! It's a fucking action movie. What do you expect? It's an action movie. But yeah, just but yeah, in this film you get. I will say this film is pretty relentlessly paced for the most part. It never really slowed down, which can be both a blessing and a curse in a crime film where you feel like, oh, it's more action to distract you from the plot, which I will say the plot is a bit lacking. There's not a lot of like, it's not very tightly plotted, if that makes sense. It does kind of feel like they're going from action scene to action scene at times, or from just scene to scene without a ton of, you know, plot. It does feel like they're just like, okay, it's a movie. Yeah. I definitely think it could have used a bit more plot, but still, I didn't have many huge issues with it. I think it's again I think it's a good crime film. Um, I think the actors all do pretty good jobs for the most part, and yeah, given this film's budget being $200,000, I was expecting some really bad CGI blood. But then I remembered it was early 2000s, and I was like, wait, they're gonna use squibs, aren't they? And they do. And I am so happy that they use squibs. That is actually something I'm saying in the film's favor. Um, I know some people would be like, whatever, who cares if it's CGI blood, but I do. I think it gets me more engrossed in the events going on if it's squibs, which is one of the big issues I have with the John Wick films, which, again, I don't hate any of the John Wick films. I think John Wick Chapter 2 is definitely the lower point of the first three, since I haven't seen the fourth one yet. And I think the third one is definitely the best because it gets into the action a lot better, a lot more than the first one, but like, or quicker. The action is better paced out, especially better than the second one. But yeah, this film is, I do recommend it. I guess I'll get into the pros and cons. This is a pretty short video. Um, Pros, again, Kaimani Marley, Spraga Benz, Paul Campbell, Louis Rankin, Wyclef Jean, all do great jobs. Good or great jobs. The score from which one of them was it? Jesus, a lot of people worked on this. Here it lists Wyclef Jean as a composer. Interesting. Well, I guess the score from Wyclef Jean was pretty good. I will bring up the list of songs, because I did recognize some of them actually. Yeah, Welcome to Jamrock by Damian Marley. It's the one that's like, out in the streets they call it murder. Like, if you remember DJ Hero, you might remember that. There's a few Kai Money Marley songs. There's a Spraga Ben song, Bounty Killer. It's a very John Wayne Inner Circle. It's a very either R&B or um, just Jamaican in general soundtrack, and I did really like the songs that were used. I thought they worked for the world they were trying to create. And again, this film looks pretty damn good. There are some weird editing choices, but for the most part, this film looks really well done. Like none of the sets like stood out to me as terrible. There's some really nice houses in the film. Um, and yeah, the fact that it was made on $200,000 is pretty stellar. It's pretty nice. Um, Showing you don't need a shit ton of budget to make a good film. Cons again. Oh wait, pros again. One more pro. They use squibs, and there's some pretty good squibs and action in the film. Um, the cons again, I do wish that a bit more of the backstory was fleshed out a bit more. I understand if they were trying to market this more as an action movie instead of a crime film. I can understand that marketing so that you can sell the film. Uh, but I do wish that there was like a director's cut or something with like maybe 10 extra minutes, 15 extra minutes of footage of them as children or uh, back in that time, because I did want to know more about these characters. They were interesting characters. And again, some of the editing isn't exactly the best. It's not during the action scenes. The action scenes are well edited. It's weird like flash cuts or like freeze frames that I don't think exactly work. But other than that, it's a good crime film. I do hope that other people will see it if it sounds like your thing. I can understand if it's not, but I think it would appeal to most people who are into action. So that was my review of Shottas. I hope if you liked the review, comment down below, like the video, subscribe, and movie reviewer next door.